Next on BYUSN, which national pundit has the Cougars finishing in the top half of the Big 12?
Plus, how many years before we expect BYU to finish in the top 4 in the new conference?
Welcome to BYU Sports Nation, presented by the BYU Store, official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere. It is the last day of May, Wednesday, May 31st. I'm Jeremy Jordan, teamed up with road ticket broker Dave McCann.
It's that kind of a day. Everyone's packing their bags for which Big 12 game they want to go to. Tickets are on sale for BYU fans starting today for road games. Cougar Club membership level and points and all that stuff will determine who gets the first pick and all that stuff. But the fact that they're out there today, which makes today a special day.
That's exciting. The most expensive ticket, predictably, is Texas at $135.
I've been there.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I maybe outside of Keith Urban, I don't know if anything's worth $130 or 35, but this might be it. You know, and if you take your friends, remember this is per ticket.
Yeah.
But this is a memory that we may never play Texas again now that they're leaving the conference.
Yeah.
Circle that one. That one's a must one. Break the piggy bank for that one.
Oklahoma State, just a cool 75. And again, this is through the Cougar Club if you want to like sit in the BYU official section, right? People come up to me all the time. They're like, "Oh, I couldn't go because it was sold out." No. There's no such thing as a sellout in that regard. Secondary places like StubHub and SeatGeek, you can always get a ticket.
Texas has, what, 100,000 seats? There's a seat for you.
I was there 2 weeks ago on the field looking around, and I was like, hey, it's going to be popping in late October when BYU's here.
It's going to be popping. Arkansas in the SEC, the Cougars go there, $115 a ticket. That's about right. There's seats there for you if you want to pay to get in. Kansas, $95 for the historic Big 12 opener.
Feels like a lot for Kansas, but Kansas is better. Like they're good. In fact, we'll learn a bit more about the Jayhawks today on the show.
$5 more than TCU, or less than TCU, right?
TCU went to the national title game.
Remember TCU?
They're within $5.
TCU said no BYU fans are getting tickets to our game in the individual sales.
Yeah.
But so, in theory, this is your way to get into the game in Fort Worth.
You can guarantee to sit with BYU guys. Yeah.
But yeah, if you got some cash, you can find a seat in there. On today's show, we're going to hear from Kansas's play-by-play guy, Brian Hanni. Again, he's first up. The Jayhawks are first up for BYU in the Big 12. If given the choice, would you take a 7-5 season right now or just let the thing play out? Think about that one. We're going to go deep blue with BYU fan Jackson Garrick and global Jimmermania. Jimmer takes the first step towards world domination today. We'll update you on that. Jimmer in a 3-on-3. My money's on him. Yeah,
world domination reminds me of Risk. I love playing Risk. It's a great game. All rise and shout. It's time for What's Trending.
Another touchdown for Keanu Hill. The Cougs hold. And touchdown. Complete to Epps. Dean 10, 5, touchdown.
What's Trending is presented by Bodyguards, protection for a life worth living. Learn more at bodyguards.com. Okay, Cam Miller of College Football Network, homie of the program, projects BYU to go 7-5, finish tied for 6th in the Big 12. 6th, you say. Would you take both of those results, or would you rather play it out and see what happens?
We've already talked many times about how a 7-5 would be a great season. So naturally, you're tempted to take that guarantee. However, we live for the game. So I'm going to take door number 2, which is let it play out. Maybe they'll do worse than 7-5. Maybe they'll do better. But it's the week in and week out drama that holds us dear to college football. However, I'm very interested in how Cam came to a 7-5 record.
Yes, let's break that down. So he has BYU winning a close one over Sam Houston, 31-25. I don't think we'd like that result out of the gates. Southern Utah, 35-11. Obviously, we'd like a win, but not by that margin. BYU loses at Arkansas. He has that a 13-point game. Loses at Kansas. Beats Cincinnati in a close one. Close win at TCU.
Surprise
like
there.
That one.
Surprise
That's
there.
a surprise. Beats Texas Tech at home. Loses to Texas by 14. Then a close win at West Virginia. And then losses at home to Iowa State. That would be a disappointing loss. Loss at home to Oklahoma, and then a regular season finale win against Oklahoma State. So the 6th win would come at the beginning of November. And so BYU would know it's bowl eligible at that point in this projection.
As I look at his picks, there's some surprises in there. One, he doesn't like TCU at all. We'll show you where he picks them in the standings here in a moment. And they were in the championship game last year. They can't be that bad, right?
Could they possibly fall?
He thinks
Could they fall as far as they went up?
He thinks they're tanking. None of his picks are blowouts, right?
Yeah, is there a single one beyond
as far as the losses
17?
go, they're all right there,
Yep.
which I think we'd all be happy to see. If BYU's not going to run the table, but if they're competitive in every game and then grab their share of them, I think we're going, hey, because year two's coming, right? They're in the Big 12, the second year too, and the third, and it's all about marching in and building. So 7-5, I would gladly put my arms around it, but I still have to see it because it's the game we love.
We like the means. We like seeing the
drama. It's when the teams come out. You really don't know what's going to happen. If we already knew,
yes,
then we'd just move on to basketball season.
Maybe a better comp would be, would you take BYU going 7-5 and you don't know which games are wins? You get to watch the season, but you know there are 7 in there. Versus,
yeah, that would be pretty good.
What would you take in that situation? If you knew there was BYU will win 7 regular season games, you just don't know which one.
I would take that if I knew they'd win 7 with a chance for 8
in a bowl game,
or whatever. Because then you know, hey, after we got the next 2,
yeah,
we know what's coming. We're gonna take 3 of the next 5.
And
sign me up.
Once you get that 7th, you're like, oh man. But it's interesting to see this. He has a lot of scoregami in there. Scoregami is like a unique score that doesn't happen. So he's got some weird kind of 29s and 23s and whatnot.
22s.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. 2-point conversions work and don't. I don't know. But in the Big 12 standings, he's got BYU at 5-4 and in 6th. I would take a winning record in league right now. To me, that is the thing. Obviously, we're looking at bowl eligibility first. But can BYU get on the high side of those 9 games in league, 5-4? 4-5 certainly is something BYU that would be good, but it's relatively good. I think in the future, in a couple years, which we'll get to in a second, we won't be as accepting as, say, a 3-6 in league or a 4-5. A winning record every year in league is going to get you into a bowl game because BYU is going to play an FCS team, hopefully a winnable FBS, and then there'll be one P5 that will be challenging. And hopefully every other year that's at home. So there'll be some years where BYU goes 3-0 in non-conference, and now you're like, okay, can we go 6-3 in league and get to 9 wins and be interesting, right? So it's interesting.
I look at Texas.
Everybody's lowballing BYU, including us, in terms of like sub-8 wins. To me, 8+ is a good season. But the first season in the Big 12, sort of graded on a curve. Not sure what BYU has exactly. Not sure how hard this experience is going to be.
I don't know what TCU did to Cam. I don't know if they denied him a press box seat with dinner, but he's got them at number 9, going 3-6 in the Big 12, from the national championship to 3-6, and he's got Texas. Everyone's in love with Texas. He's got Texas at 9-0. Texas
it's a classic preseason.
Has Texas ever been 9-0 in our lifetime? It doesn't seem like it. If they have,
with Colt McCoy,
you got to go way back
against in
maybe
the
year they beat
game.
USC in the national championship.
That year. They've had some good years. But in the last, 10 or 12,
9-0?
It's not been the same kind of... Yeah. As good as Texas is in the #1 revenue school and the amazing recruiting classes they get, they underachieve from that standpoint every year. Like, we think we have high expectations generally for BYU. It's not even close to what Texas does. We're just hoping BYU goes to a bowl game.
Well, you look at Cam. He's got Oklahoma State and West Virginia, 13th and 14th. 1-8, 1-8. These are 2 of the pioneers in the league, right? And all these newcomers come in and just finish better than them.
Yeah,
it's like
I guess West Virginia's a newcomer.
I guess kind of. But if you're Oklahoma State, do you not have any pride? I'd expect them to be a contender.
They lost a lot of pieces, including Caleb Etienne, starting left tackle. Spencer Saunders went to Ole Miss, where he's going to compete with Jackson Dart for the starting spot there. They lost something. Can BYU be the best newbie in the league, by the way? He has UCF at 7-5, 5-4. And then Cincinnati and Houston going 4-8 and 2-7 in league, respectively. If BYU is the best of those 4, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of people think UCF's going to be pretty good, and in the top kind of half of the league. Can BYU overcome sort of just low expectations? Now, listen, we can have high expectations. We did that last year, and BYU underperformed. We expected a lot out of that group. BYU's just way better as a dog. They just are. Like, I love this. In fact, if we just lowered it a touch, I think it'd crank the team up a notch.
Yeah.
Like, BYU's BYU functions better when they think no one thinks we can do this.
And these
So no one thinks BYU can do it. So go do it. Like BYU operates better that way.
These are projections based on complete health, and that's really the hump BYU's got to get over for a full season of competitive football in a P5 atmosphere. They just haven't been able to, but they've spent this whole offseason, you know, putting dishes in the cupboards, loading things up.
Yes.
To answer that question. And proof's in the performance, right? Expectations are awesome because we talk about it all the time. But it's like they're in a position to be better than they've ever been, depth-wise, against a competition bigger and better than they've ever had, consistency-wise. And that's the drama of the game.
Maybe it's less about being healthy and more about when inevitably we are injured, can we maintain the standard?
Yeah,
I think that's
teams are going to get hurt too.
I think we used to say, well, BYU's got to avoid injury. How avoidable is it? Like, does BYU do something different in the weight room now? They do fewer squats, so they're not going to be as pulling hamstrings and ACLs suddenly. Like, it's football. You're going to get hurt to some degree. I don't know how controllable that is, but it is big boy football now. You're going to get a little more hurt, a little more physical. So more depth is great, which I think BYU has.
More guys, and the fittest are the ones standing at the end, right? USC, had their quarterback not getting hurt, they wouldn't have got beat by Utah. There's just some things where health makes such a big difference, and it has for BYU.
Good little jab there at the end. That's great.
I golfed with a Trojan fan the other day. It was still in my mind. All right, how many years before you expect BYU to finish in the top 4 in the Big 12?
Okay, this is a good question because to me, top 4 is like, okay, you're one of the best teams in the league, obviously. Okay, I've looked at 2 teams to sort of gauge what it took for them to sort of compare here. Let's talk about Utah and TCU. Utah went 8-5 in year 1 of the Pac-12. Wow! Year 2 and 3 went 5-7.
Yeah.
Okay, it's struggle. Year 4, they go 9-4, 5-4 in league, tied for 6th. And I'm just going by divisions, right? They don't have the full no division thing that now the Big 12 has. Okay, in the 5th year, 10-3, 6-3 in league, tied for 4th. It took 5 years. TCU, 3rd year, took 2nd in the league at 8-1. 12-1, went to the Peach Bowl. 4th year, 11-2, took 2nd, 7-2. TCU was more ready. They went a year after Utah, by the way, 2012. Remember, BYU plays TCU last year in the Mountain West, first year of Indy, in Jerry's World. BYU loses a game there by 10.
That was the game where Riley Nelson gave the referee a high five.
I was the KSL radio reporter right by that high five, and I go to flip on this switch, and it takes like 3 seconds to go hot, and I start to say what I think is this amazing scene I just witnessed, and Mark Lyons jumps in and says it, and I was like, Mark is on it, and I was too slow. But, okay, Utah took 5 years, TCU took 3. I'm going to say 5. In 5 years, I'm hoping that BYU can compete in the top 4 of the Big 12. It's going to take a sec. And maybe, no, I believe it is, BYU is more ready than they were for this jump.
Right.
But I do believe that the talent at TCU is generally better than BYU's. I think BYU's coaching and development is better than a lot of schools in the country. So, but I will give it 5 years before it's like, okay, top 4. I would like it to be 3.
I'm going to go less than 5 based on what you said about how they've been prepared. I mean, 12 years to get ready for this, as opposed to Utah and TCU got the call and then they were in, or so it feels. Did BYU's scheduling, especially these last 4 years, prepare them for this so they don't go at the bottom looking up, they go into the middle looking up? And if you're in the middle, you just got to jump 2 teams and you're in the 4.
Agreed.
So I think less than 5 because of independence.
So like 3-ish?
Yeah, maybe 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Not this year, not next year, but then again they might. Or they could have a reality check and go, okay, you know, it's taken Kansas forever just to become competitive. And we're going to talk with their play-by-play announcer in a bit to find out how they're seeing things, because now they're optimistic because they're moving the football. If you have a good quarterback, should you always be in the top 4 if you have one of the best quarterbacks in that league?
Depends what else you have, but certainly Kansas is way more interesting with Jalon Daniels, who's a baller.
Sure. And the quarterbacks, Oklahoma State, when they've got a quarterback, when Oklahoma has a quarterback, they're in that group.
They always have a quarterback.
You know?
Always.
When Texas has a quarterback, and they don't always have a quarterback, they're in that group. And this year they have a quarterback, and they're in the discussion to go 9-0, you know, according to some. But I think you're right. There has to be time to build. But BYU has done a lot of the building. And I'd be disappointed if they didn't go in the middle because of the last 12 years.
Is the only reason we're not thinking BYU can be top 4 this year just because it's new quarterback, new running back, new left tackle kind of with Kingsley? Like, why aren't we saying, hey, out of the gates, they should go there? We just don't know what the Big 12 is. I think that's why. We're just, okay, when you play 10 Power 5s, what's that like? Historically, BYU wins 40% of those. Like 4 and 6 would be good enough to make a bowl, but it wouldn't be good enough to be in the top half. So I also think we're keeping it low because last year we got burned with expecting something high and it didn't happen.
Ran into a buzzsaw at Oregon, and then all of a sudden it took us, most of the season to recover from that.
Yeah.
I mean, they jumped up to what, number 13 in the country?
12 at Oregon.
Heading to Oregon. And that's when everyone starts thinking, and we did too, it's like, well, if they beat Oregon, and Oregon got destroyed by Georgia, so why couldn't they beat Oregon? Then all of a sudden, well, we're going to run the table. That's how our mind works. And then Oregon just pounded us. And so then it was like, okay, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
Now let's get ready for, well, we got Notre Dame coming up or whatever. And physically, we weren't quite there. We never had a healthy team the whole season. Not even from the first moment. Gunnar wasn't in the first moment. And Puka was out after, 3 possessions? And
Jaren gets hurt.
We just never had it. And now we're heading into a tougher schedule. So I think that's why there's the hesitancy of, what are we going to look like in October and November? Because we've been there and done that, but not like this.
2 or 3 seasons in, we'll have a way better and even after this year, it's a 14-team league. Yeah. Next year, it'll be like, okay, no Texas, Oklahoma. What does that mean? Are we, if BYU goes 5-4 in league, do we go, oh, yeah, top 4, let's go? Probably.
Yeah.
We don't like to quell expectations around here, which brings us to our question of the day.
We like to build on them.
It's part of our theology. We think anything is possible, right? How many years before you expect BYU to finish top 4 in the Big 12? Weigh in on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, at CDShaw99 on Twitter. I think it will take 3 to 5 years. That's the sweet spot with you and I as well. Give our new defensive staff a recruiting class to get the guys they want. We'll be strong enough on both sides with the Big 12 brand to compete at a high level, not to mention with the transfer portal. I think this is helping accelerate BYU's ascent. And we'll see, if BYU has a tremendous year this year, it doesn't mean next year is automatically given. Again, the Utah thing, 8-5, 5-7, 5-7. Yeah. It takes a sec. And let's be honest, there's going to be a year where BYU doesn't make a bowl and just stinks, but they can rise out of that like they did in 2017 to produce 2020, 2021, and a good 22.
You know, when they joined the WAC, they weren't the behemoths. Arizona and Arizona State were. And then when we think of the WAC, we think BYU dominated every single year. Because then they did, and they built that up. Mountain West, same kind of thing, with TCU and Utah in there. And now Independence, we've kind of, all over the map, and here we go back into a league. You can win a league.
Will Texas and Oklahoma leaving be the Arizona State of the WAC, where it's like, oh, BYU can make its ascent now? Certainly a tougher draw than Wyoming and Colorado State.
Right? At least there's a precedent.
Yes, there is.
Hey, plan to be with us on Friday as we review one of the best teams in BYU football history, featuring Steve Young and the 12-game winning streak that really was the catalyst to winning the national championship the next year. 1983 reviewables, Friday, noon Eastern, BYU TV and BYU Radio.
After the break, Brian Hanni, Kansas Football Radio play-by-play, previews the Big 12 opener on September 23rd. This is BYU Sports Nation.
This portion of BYU Sports Nation is presented by Bodyguards, protection for a life worth living.
Tim Daly Ford in Spanish Fork sells Ford vehicles including the F-150, the pickup designed for work and play. Tim Daly Ford maintains a large inventory, providing more choices for selecting an F-150 with the power and engineering to carry and tow heavy loads. The F-150's design offers comfort, safety, and a range of options to choose from. Think Ford, think Tim Daly Ford in Spanish Fork.
At BYU, we believe wholeheartedly in expanding joy, and that joy comes from learning and serving. Some of the best, most lasting learning happens when we serve, when we experience, when we connect in real, lasting ways. It's what we call inspiring learning, learning that inspires us to create a better world, to do and be better. After all, light shared is the best kind of light.
He knows that he's different. He knows that things are hard for him.
Taking the leg was how we could save her life.
I think God put the animals in our path, and I think it is up to us to care for them.
It's like dream come true kind of stuff.
Good job, buddy. You've completed her life.
He loves it so much.
There are happy endings to tragic situations.
Shaw leans into the end zone, touchdown Kansas. Now looks right under pressure and sack. Keeping it left side, touchdown. Oh, picked by Kobe Bryant, the Mamba.
September 23rd, BYU's first game in the Big 12 in football is in Lawrence, Kansas against the Jayhawks. Jeremy Jordan alongside Dave McCann. Let's now preview that matchup and all things Kansas with the voice of the Jayhawks, Brian Hanni, here on BYU Sports Nation. Brian, we're excited to have you on the program. Talks Kansas football and maybe a little basketball as well.
Yeah. Hey, Jeremy. Hey, Dave. Thanks for having me. Great to have you guys coming into the league. We were just talking off the air. I think in all sincerity, of the four schools coming in, I'm most excited about BYU, from your national brand and reputation to the chance to see such a beautiful place like Provo on a regular basis. All four schools are great additions, but I'm probably most excited about BYU for sure.
Brian, paint a picture for us. September 23rd, BYU's in your stadium. It's the first Big 12 game for the Cougars. We anticipate a lot of BYU fans finding their way into that place. What kind of environment can the Cougars expect?
Well, Dave, if you asked that question a year ago, I'd probably give you a very different answer. But for the first time in 14 years, we were bowling again. And for the first time ever, Kansas and David Booth Kansas Memorial Stadium hosted ESPN College Game Day. And it was the fourth most watched College Game Day atmosphere and environment in the history of the show. So Jayhawk fans showed up in droves. Like any great school or program, if you build a winner, they will come. And when we were down and out for over a decade, attendance was sparse, but Lance Leipold has this program on the rise, no doubt. And consequently, you know, the fan base, the 12th man, is piling on board as well. They're actually in the midst of renovating Kansas Memorial Stadium, and it's a whole 11th and Mississippi project, which is the intersection that the campus entrance and stadium is located at. So when you see it for the first time, it won't be what it will be in a couple of years, but change is coming for the first time in about 100 years to that stadium. And we're really excited about a state-of-the-art facility that'll be here very soon for Kansas football, and the atmosphere to back it up with a winning program that's only been to back-to-back bowl games once in its history. But that's what they're setting out to do next season with a quarterback in Jalon Daniels that we feel is a legitimate Heisman Trophy contender, and a program that returns all of their assistant coaches. Forget this, guys. The first time in 20 years we've had every assistant coach come back. That's the revolving door it had been with head coaches and assistants. But right now you've got a culture that's being built, coaching and player continuity, unlike we've had since the Orange Bowl era back in 2007. And that makes for a pretty excited fan base too. And I'd like to think it makes for a pretty challenging Big 12 opener for BYU, but obviously in this league, they're all tough. But the days of going to Kansas and just chalking up a win based on the down and out Jayhawks are definitely over and very much in the rearview mirror.
There are no gimmies. That was what we thought was a gimme before. It's like, hey, at Kansas, that's what. Nope, that's not a gimme. And like you mentioned, Jalon Daniels, tremendous, led the Big 12 in yards per attempt, 18 touchdowns, only 4 picks passing, ran for 400 yards and 7 scores. What kind of difference can he make? Because obviously 5-0 when he's the starter, gets hurt in that 6th game, and kind of the season takes a tailspin after that. Is he good enough to single-handedly get Kansas back to a bowl game?
I think he is. I think he's a future pro. I think he is everything you want your quarterback to be. He's got a big-time next-level arm. He's got the escapability and mobility when the play breaks down to make things happen with his feet. And he's got charisma, and it's just a natural leader, both by example and vocally, that you want as the face of the franchise type guy. He came in and started as a 17-year-old, his first year under Les Miles, kind of got thrown into the fire, got hurt, But you saw flashes of the great potential that had their original coaching staff so excited about him. And then under Leipold, he's just taken it to a whole other level. He returns the bulk of his top weapons at both receiver and tight end from last season. He's got a first-team All-Big 12 running back coming back in Devin Neal, a kid I call real deal Devin Neal. And Daniel Highshaw's coming back from a major hip injury, too. He's a future pro. So this offense looks stacked, locked, and loaded. I think they can score 40 a game. I think they're going to be one of the most exciting teams in the country offensively. The question will be, defensively, can they take that next step? Defensively, can they be formidable in a league that has so many great offensive play callers and offensive playmakers? So we're looking forward to seeing if that aspect of this program takes the next leap as well. But if they do, this is a team that can be in the top 25 throughout the season. I think they have that much potential with a healthy Jalon Daniels. They were ranked before he went down with the injury, and obviously he set all kinds of records in the bowl game versus Arkansas, a triple overtime loss. But never in my 20-year career have I ever called a loss that felt more like a win walking out of there. That's how we felt leaving the Liberty Bowl, and hopefully a big stepping stone for this program heading into the future. 544
passing yards and 5 touchdowns for Jalon Daniels in that game. BYU lost to Arkansas as well in a shootout where the defense gave up 50-plus. So empathy there. I'm seeing 3 career punts from Jalon Daniels. Does he punt sometimes?
Yeah, he'll do like the quick kick surprise punt thing, but it's not like John Hadel, who played quarterback, halfback, and punter here back in the day and once had a 90-yarder. It's not like that or anything, but he can pin you deep if they decide to last second.
Brian Hanni, the play-by-play voice of the Kansas Jayhawks on BYU Sports Nation as we get ready for the Big 12 opener in September. From the outside of the Big 12 looking in and looking at these scores and watching these games, there is such an emphasis on offense. It didn't used to be that way in the Big 12, but that's the world we're in now, where 40 points is great, might not win the game. As these 4 teams, including BYU, join this league, everyone's trying to patch up the defense, but it's still just go out there and you got to get 40 points a game. You got to get 45 points a game to have a winning record in this conference?
That's the way it's been. It may not always stay that way, but look at some of the quarterbacks that have come through this conference, and not all of them have had huge NFL success, but whether it's Patrick Mahomes, who's obviously the high man on the totem pole, or Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield was a #1 overall pick. I mean, this league has produced so many big-time quarterbacks, Heisman Trophy winners like RG3, Robert Griffin, and Sam Bradford, and then other guys that have just been hugely successful NFL pros, and then the receiver talent and the running back talent, too, in this league. It's offensive star power and weaponry that makes for some really exciting Saturdays. And ever since Mike Leach came into the league, the late, great Mike Leach, 20 years ago at Texas Tech, and brought his air raid style, I kind of feel like a lot of the Big 12 offenses started to spread it out, air it out, and light up the scoreboard. Not exactly like Tech did, but similar. So it has been a offensive forward type league, more so than what you'd see, say, in the SEC, which has so many great defensive line prospects that go straight to the league in the first round, and they're more ground and pound and defensively focused. It is more of an offensive-minded league, but if you can come in and show that you've got game changers and difference makers on that defensive side of the ball, that might be the team that has the clear-cut advantage to win this league. But I think you guys are going to really enjoy the level of competitiveness, game in and game out, regardless of venue, regardless of opponent. Most nights, anybody can be had. It's that good of a league, especially now that Kansas, who was for so many years the weakest link, now that they've stepped forward and launched themselves into the middle of the pack, this is truly a league of great parity and equity, and a league where you're going to have a ton of fun each week because you truly don't know what's going to happen because the teams are that balanced here in the Big 12.
And in basketball, it's even more so. The biggest challenge for BYU in any sport will be in men's basketball. It's the #1 league. We're hoping BYU can somehow win a third of its league games next year, probably. Give us a sense of what it's like in the Big 12 and hoops, and obviously what BYU fans will experience with Rock Chalk Jayhawk at Allen Fieldhouse.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, obviously this is the winningest program in the history of college basketball, and we're really proud of the great Kansas tradition that Bill Self has built upon in his last 20 seasons. Up until just a few years ago, Kansas had won the Big 12 for 14 consecutive years, breaking UCLA's mark for the most consecutive conference championships of 13. of which John Wooden only coached 9. It took 3 UCLA coaches to win those 13 straight. Kansas, in a much more competitive modern era, did it for 14 straight years under Self. And while they haven't necessarily won as many national titles in that window as they'd like, this is a program that has been a 1 seed 11 of the last 18 years. If you include the pandemic year when they would have been the 1 of 1s, they're that consistent. And the league itself is very, very competitive, as you've seen in recent seasons. This past year, maybe the best example with so many teams that were in the top 25 or even top 15 of the net rankings all throughout the season. So we're excited about the additions of BYU and Houston in particular in basketball. It just makes this conference even better. But you've got a lot of teams that have produced Final Four contenders, but Kansas obviously is the flag carrier at the top of that. And so long as Bill Self is on the sidelines, and obviously we didn't have him in the postseason last year because of a health scare, but so long as he's back there, we feel like we have the best coach in the country. And Kansas, thanks to a great spring in the portal, adding Hunter Dickinson from Michigan, Arterio Morris from Texas, Timberlake, a Towson shooting guard that we're excited to get, and then 4 fantastic freshmen. This looks like the team to beat in college basketball. It looks like they'll be preseason number 1. They're right now the odds-on favorite to win it all in Vegas. So that's what BYU is walking into in terms of the Big 12 powers at the top and the competitiveness throughout. But it's a really exciting basketball league, too. Everything I said about how tough it is night in and night out in football, it's the same in the basketball side of this thing, especially now with what Jerome Tang has done in 1 season at Kansas State in revitalizing them. Everybody has the potency to beat anybody, and we found that out many times last season. So it's a really competitive league in both of the 2 major sports, and I think adding a program and an athletic department as talent-rich and tradition-rich as BYU only enhances that reputation.
Well, we look forward to it. I'm not sure all of what you said was great news for BYU per se.
It didn't sound like it.
Yeah, when Dickinson left Michigan, I was like, oh, yeah, even more talent. No, but it's going to be fun, those challenges. And Kansas in the Marriott Center is going to be a ton of fun as well. Brian, we appreciate the time. We look forward to September 23rd.
Thanks so much for the invite. We look forward to it as well, and welcome to the Big 12, guys.
Thanks so much. Brian Hanni, the voice of the Kansas Jayhawks. Man, it's going to be Kansas in particular is so intriguing because football got better. Basketball obviously is overwhelming, but it's a bunch of Gonzagas and St. Mary's.
Yeah.
And BYU's had its share of wins in there, but it's going to be much more of that.
It's going to be a fun fight. Right? And we're not going to win all those fights. But, yeah, listening to him roll that out about Kansas, like, okay, those are the top dogs. That's the standard when we go into that league for basketball. And for football, the standard fluctuates. And especially with the last year's champion picked by some to finish in 9th place. And that gives us reason to watch. It's like, I'm not sure what's going to happen.
Listen, we left Missouri and Kansas City a long time ago.
We're going back.
We're going back.
We're going back, and we're taking names. We'll see what happens.
That's the hope.
If you missed any of our interviews, and this last one was really good, Deep Blues, shows, our games, you can find them at BYUSN.com, or you can download the BYU TV app and get all the BYU TV sports content on demand. Love to hear him say, welcome to the Big 12.
That's pretty awesome. Coming up, the latest on Jimmer, Team USA in Austria, and Joel Klatt's college football relegation idea. This is BYU Sports Nation.
BYU Sports Nation is presented by the BYU Store, official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere.
Does your dream of home ownership feel impossible? At Mountain America, we want to remind you, the dream is alive. We are here to craft a personalized mortgage loan based on your needs. You can live your dream. And now, for a limited time, receive a free appraisal. Our one-on-one guidance and quick application process will bring your dream to life. Reach out to a Mountain America mortgage expert today.
The heroes are taking over Saturday mornings on BYU TV. Heroes who are brave, smart, and wield magical powers. Heroes who are good friends, problem solvers, and kind to everyone. Heroes who work together to lift and inspire, to make someone's day. Watch your favorite heroes in action Saturday mornings on BYU TV, and then go be a hero yourself.
Follow BYU Sports Nation on social media for content throughout the day on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok.
Welcome back to Studio B. I am Jerem. He is Dave. Here are today's headlines.
One of our favorite guys, former BYU men's basketball star Jimmer Fredette, playing for USA at the FIBA 3x3 World Cup. Jimmer and Team USA won Game 1 today against Latvia, 21-17. They play Game 2 this afternoon against Austria. Tournament runs through June 4th in Austria. It's not an automatic qualifier for the Olympics, but it's going to have a lot to say about it.
Michael Rucker was optioned to AAA Iowa after yielding 10 earned runs over 8 1/3 innings in his last 4 appearances.
Tweeted or texted back and forth with him yesterday. He'll be back up. Bummed to go to Iowa.
No doubt.
But he'll be back up. USA Women's Volleyball begins competition in the Volleyball Nations League. That's over in Turkey. And former Cougar Ronnie Jones-Perry coming off the bench against Serbia in a 5-set USA win.
Nice. And the head coach of that team is Karch Karai.
How about that?
That's pretty cool. Yeah. And former Cougar Calvin Whiting made his Major League Rugby first try of the season and the first 15 in the league after a stellar performance against Rugby ATL, scoring a try and recording 17 tackles. More on what Calvin overcame in the game later on. Those are today's headlines. Now let's whip it. Cougar Whip Around is presented by Maersk, your e-commerce logistics shipping partner.
CBS's Dennis Dodd reporting Colorado's had face-to-face talks with the Big 12 about rejoining the conference that they should have never left. Of all this rhetoric, is this report the most significant? And do you believe the Buffs are going to make the jump?
I think eventually they will, because I don't have confidence in the Pac-12 sticking together, and Colorado certainly has an identity in the Big 12 that it doesn't really have in the Pac-12, although a lot of its alumni live in the Pac-12 area. Yeah, on this story, I'm just kind of like, just let me know when they're actually coming to the Big 12.
Yeah, and this one had the most to it only because it was, hey, they've actually met with Yormar. It's like, okay, that's more than they're going to.
Yeah.
Maybe they say, no, they actually have. And why would you do that if you don't have your bags half packed?
Yes, and Deion Sanders certainly is influential in this, wanting to get back in Texas reportedly with recruiting. ESPN today will release the start times and TV details for the first 3 weeks of the season. That's coming up at 2 Eastern time. BYU opens with back-to-back home games. Do you want those games in the late TV window or in the middle of the afternoon?
Late TV window, still be hot. Gives Cougar fans all day to simmer, to travel in. Puts game day on, let's say, prime time, 2 hours before. It's a late night for all of us, you're right. But this is Big 12 time. The logo's going to be on the field. There'll be fireworks in the air. Give them to them at night. We play better at night.
Yes,
History is on our side at night.
BYU's really good. If it's streamed only, like an ESPN Plus, I don't see why this couldn't be kind of middle of the afternoon. So we'll see what happens.
On his podcast last week, Joel Klatt brought up a different aspect of conference realignment that he sees taking place in the future. Klatt said that pretty soon conferences will start looking at which teams they can drop, not add.
Well then.
Do you like this? And if it catches on, should BYU be concerned?
So this is essentially relegation. And you couldn't drop a team suddenly. It'd have to be after the TV contract is up. So for the ACC, it's like in 50 years.
Yeah.
But no, well, you should always be worried because you need to win. But it's more teams like Rutgers and Maryland in the Big Ten that aren't pulling their weight kind of deal.
And they should have already been dropped. The fact that they're not going into the new TV deal leads me to believe they're not going to. There's too much political stuff to trim guys and say, you know what, we've decided you're not as good as us, you're out.
Yeah, and there's a lot that goes into dropping a school, some of which is on the field.
Yeah.
Auburn head coach Hugh Freeze, hey Hugh, he was at Liberty last year, said the best way to get the transfer portal under control is to have the NCAA immediately restore its former policy to have players sit out a year before becoming eligible unless they have graduated or their coach was fired. Is he right?
Yeah, he is. To get it under control, yes. To have it continue to be a free-for-all, let kids transfer and play right away. So that's the issue they're talking about. is, A, we can't even hold a roster together. If a kid really wants to transfer, let him really think about it, because he's going to have to sit out a year. And we saw what that did. We didn't have a lot of transfers back in the day.
No.
You'd have a couple. BYU pulled in 20 this year. You want to get it under control, put that rule back in. Will that rule go back in? No one thinks it will.
Is it out of control, and is it bad that it's quote-unquote out of control?
I need a few more years to decide.
Yeah, and I don't have an issue with it at the moment. Like, if the coach can bounce, why can't the player? I don't see why not.
Yeah, valid point. But if you want to rein it in, because right now like John Robinson used to say, all the cows are out of the barn. Yeah, they're all out of the barn. They're all over the pasture.
Yeah.
We don't know if that's good for it yet or not.
Right.
BYU was 8-4. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's changed certainly men's hoops recruiting, and football is going that direction as well.
Speaking of Auburn football, they tweeted a graphic that said Auburn is the only SEC school with a Buc-ee's, which is a large gas station and convenience store chain.
It's so random.
Trolling tweets began rolling in, and you know, if there's a trolling tweet, Lane Kiffin's involved from Ole Miss. He comes in. Ole Miss is the only SEC school with a Chevron that sells chicken on a stick. So finish
with the graphic.
Finish the statement. BYU is the only school with
Cougar tails.
Cougar tails.
Tunnel singing. I would say socks and sandals around campus, but that's more popular than you'd think.
Cougar tails. Cougar tails are trademarked. They're their own thing. You can only get them here.
Yeah, it's super unique.
Chicken on a stick. That sounds delightful.
Listen, Lane's an interesting cat to the point of having golf balls thrown at him at a Tennessee game last year.
Yeah.
But that is some funny stuff, man. Okay, coming up, how a BYU fan with cerebral palsy is defying all the odds, not only in the hospital, but on the hardwood. This is BYU Sports Nation.
This portion of BYU Sports Nation is presented by Maersk, your e-commerce logistics shipping partner.
My name is Spencer Finnegan. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. During my sophomore year, I got married to my sweetheart, Mary, and there's tons of unexpected expenses when it comes to marriage. We were looking for scholarships. I found the replenishment grant, and my local alumni chapter gave me a grant to help me focus in on school. I'm so excited to, now that I've graduated, give back to those students that are coming to BYU in the future.
If you're looking to build your brand awareness and increase market share as BYU moves into the Big 12, this is the place, BYU Athletics. We can provide the tools you need to make sure your company is seen and heard. BYU Athletics is where you can align your products and services with loyal fans that cheer for our Cougars. And they can also help your business win. Learn more about what a partnership with BYU Athletics and your company will look like. After all, this is the place. Email sponsorship at byu.edu today.
You're going to feel the energy of all these volunteers.
I'm excited to get out into the world and see who else is making good.
And you're going to meet some of the most amazing people.
And we will all just lift each other up.
What we do is we create memories for families.
And you realize just how good people are.
It does take a village.
It's definitely been a journey.
Welcome back to BYU Sports Nation live from Studio B. When BYU fan Jackson Garrick was born, the doctors weren't sure he was going to live due to a severe case of cerebral palsy. Jackson quickly showed his courage and will by defying the odds in the hospital, and now, years later, he's defying the odds on the hardwood. This is Deep Blue.
Any memory with him has always involved basketball.
As a mom, you just kind of know. You see when something's not right. I couldn't put a word to it, didn't have a name. It wasn't so clear. It was just something was different.
So as a dad, one of the things that I always wanted was for Jackson and Kobe to play together, and maybe I could possibly be their coach.
normal up until the day he was born, and something was just different, kind of purplish, bluish, and he just seemed very limp. But nobody seemed concerned to us necessarily. The doctor didn't say any concern, and we just brought home a healthy baby. He was 9 pounds. He was a big boy, and for all we knew, he was just like any of the rest, but still something was different about him.
Maybe he always had a few problems with his speech, but I've always had this connection with him where I felt out of anyone in our family that I could always understand what he was saying, oddly. So for me, I don't think I really understood what Jackson had till even in middle school.
Cerebral palsy has many levels, is what I've learned over the years.
No 2 diagnoses are the same. And of course, cerebral palsy is a diagnosis that just means, well, it's nothing else.
When he went to kindergarten, he had a very kind teacher. We went to the parent-teacher conference.
And then she asked, you know, what do you want? What do you want Jackson to be?
What do you want him to be? I hadn't thought. So I said, I just want to play basketball with Jackson.
You know, it's always been a part of our family. I mean, I was named after Kobe Bryant. I didn't really have much of a choice.
I wanted to name Jackson Shaq, but Nikki just wouldn't let me do it. But we named him after Phil Jackson.
We all love basketball. It's just been what we do.
She was able to make sure that he had physical therapy as part of his school day.
Parts of the day they spent teaching him how to shoot baskets. And he came home shooting free throws.
I wasn't that good at the start.
What helped you get better?
Practicing.
So when we moved to Houston, Jackson was in 3rd grade. He came home with a flyer about Special Olympics.
I don't know why Nikki and I never put it together, but we didn't.
Coach was really impressed with Jackson's skills, but also knew that he was kind of little compared to most of the guys and girls on the team.
Well, one day after practice, Kobe and I were there playing a 2-on-1 together. And he saw how we treat Jackson, blocking his shots and knocking him all around. And he says, oh, that's it, Jackson's on the team. Went on to win 3 straight gold medal Texas State championships.
I won gold at the state basketball game in Dallas, and this is the biggest goal I have. Woo!
A job opportunity came to us when we were living in Houston to move to the Coeur d'Alene, Spokane area and shift my career into another area.
It was a hard decision because Jackson was well known in our district there in Houston. We had a lot of friends, and like I said, they were like family.
We went to the Special Olympics in both Idaho and Washington because it's right on the border. And we thought, all right, we're going to double down, and this is going to be great. And it was starting to be okay. We started in Idaho, and then the pandemic hit, and it's all shut down.
It was an isolating time. All of his older siblings were out of the house now. Lockdowns didn't help, things like that, moving to a new place. And our little sweet Jackson started to become kind of an angry boy.
Why did Heavenly Father make me this way? He'll say, that's hard to hear as a father. You don't have the answers.
There were times where he would just want to hurt himself. And so it was really clear that this was not the place for him.
We came to Provo to visit my daughter when she was having our first grandson. I took Jackson to a BYU game. He loved it. He couldn't believe it. He says, is there any way I can play in the Marriott Center? I said, I don't know if that can happen, but there's got to be a BYU Special Olympics team. And there was. We got here, got associated with it right away. His first sport was bocce ball, and he got a silver medal as a BYU athlete. Awesome.
In the middle school, he was the team manager for one of the basketball teams, and so he got to warm up with them and sit on the bench. And our coach at Mountain View said, well, that sounds reasonable. Like, we can have him come to practices. He can sit on the bench with us. You know, we'll do our best to involve him. We went to their first practice, and they brought out all of this gear for him to wear, just like all the other basketball players. And I think he felt really excited about that he was on the team.
You know, Jackson would come into practice and he would shoot all practice long, and you know, you take a little break from your drill that you're doing, you look down the court, and there's Jackson shooting his threes and goes in almost every single time. You know, everyone is just in awe. You know, I think a couple of us after a drill, you know, we just kind of stood there for 2 minutes and he didn't miss. Went from one spot to the next, to the next, to the next, and just hit all of them, and then he'll take steps back and keep shooting and he'll make them. And then, you know, his mom will be there rebounding for him. And his mom will put a hand up and he'll still make the shot.
They never let him leave practice without fist bumping everyone or getting into the huddle. I mean, he's this quiet, shy kid, new kid at school in special ed. How would they even know or care? But they did. And they welcomed him in immediately. And by the time senior night came around, they were just they were all in for his success.
We knew, because the guys had rallied and they were up by almost 40 by now, and there was a minute left, or a minute and a half left, and we saw the coach nod, put Jackson in. And they called timeout, and the crowd was chanting, "We want Jackson, we..."
You know, and I'm sitting there on the bench next to some of my teammates and my coaches, and they start chanting Jackson. You know, I can feel it. I'm getting excited because the best part of the game hasn't even come yet.
Team rallied around him, helped him get off the bench. They got him to where he needed to be to shoot his shot.
My greatest feeling is always to play on the varsity basketball team. And when they hit that three-pointer, that was so fun because everyone was jumping like crazy, cheering my name.
Just from that one shot, you know, changed our whole course for the rest of our season. The energy he brings, the confidence he gives the rest of our team, it carries over game to game.
He knows how to bring people up, and he knows how to take people down on the court.
You know, back in kindergarten, when they said, we don't really know what he's gonna be like when he's 18. Well, now we're here, he's 18, and we still don't really know what the future holds for him. But the one thing we do know for sure is basketball and Special Olympics will be a part of his life for always.
Right now, I just want him to enjoy it all. Enjoy the success and the accolades, do hard things. I want him to always be willing to try. And, you know, 30, 40 years from now, I just want Jackson to be with family members. He has a great capacity to love and to be loved. That's my greatest wish for him.
Jackson Garrick looking great in that BYU uniform. What an inspiration, and pretty cool that he got in the Mountain View game. Made a three, man.
Sports provides so many opportunities for good things, and that's spectacular.
Garricks are awesome. Huge BYU fans. Congrats, and thanks for letting us tell that story. That was awesome. Up next, which former Cougar helped his team win a game with a broken nose on Saturday? We'll tell you. This is BYU Sports Nation.
BYU Sports Nation is presented by the BYU Store, official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere.
Introducing the truck for adventure. The all-new 2022 Nissan Frontier doesn't compromise on power or comfort. This midsize truck was redesigned to incorporate the latest technology and designs for safety, comfort, and convenience. Plus, with up to 6,700 pounds of towing capacity and best-in-class horsepower, it's rugged enough for adventure and still safe enough to transport all your favorite people. Where's your new Frontier? You'll find it at Tim Dowling Nissan Southtown and South Jordan.
Mark? Some of my favorite moments are hearing from the family room, just a chorus of laughter.
'Twas your mother's.
BYU TV has been an escape and a refuge for me. We forgot about random acts. We love that one.
Today we wanted to do something nice for you.
I see that change on him after that show.
It just brightened everybody's day.
I can do this.
I want to live my life in a way that show showed me.
That thing is ours.
Whoa!
No one else can know about it until we figure out what it is. Agreed? Agreed. We're supposed to look out for each other. All this time, I've been searching for us.
It chose you for a reason.
We're in this together.
You're the best friends I've ever had.
This portion of BYU Sports Nation is presented by Mountain America, the official credit union of BYU Athletics.
Our question of the day is this: how many years before you expect BYU football to finish in the top 4 in the Big 12? Our elite voice of the day is presented by PAX Healthcare Elevated.
Ben Hall on Twitter. The BYU fan part of me says it'll be this year.
Okay, then.
Wouldn't surprise me at all if the Cougs have a great first year in the Big 12.
Top 4 would be awesome. Today's Rise and Shout Out, presented by Mountain America, the official credit union of BYU Athletics, to former rugby player Calvin Whiting, who broke his nose with friendly fire with the Utah Warriors on Saturday, but then later gets a carry and rumbles into the try zone for a score. He told me last night he's going to have surgery after the season. He's just playing through it.
That's next level.
That's crazy, man.
Playing rugby with a broken nose. Conversation continues 24/7 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. This and all our shows on demand at BYUSN.com.
Thanks to Brian Hanni. Sorry to Dennis Pitta. We ran out of time. For Dave, I'm Jerem. Shout out to Moroni Laulu Pututau. Does your coach dance when he enters the stadium? Ours does. Go Cougs.